This is Dave Gorman from Orange Island, and you're listening to The New Scene.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The New Scene. I am your host, Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And in the guest hosting chair this week, I've got Emily Whitehurst back on the show. Em, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. You know, so much has changed since the last time we spoke, and maybe I'll get into that later, but it's great to have you back on the show. What's going on? How have you been?
Well, first off, thank you. It's great to be back on the show. I have been really good and really busy.
Let's give the people a tease. What are you up to? What are you working on these days?
I've been recording new music. Yeah, I've been in the studio. I've been spending lots and lots of time in the studio. I'm pretty excited about it.
What do we got coming? New record?
Yeah. Yes. Well, we've got a couple new things. We've got two new releases to come out. Not a ton of specifics because it's definitely in the future, but yeah, a lot going on with that.
That's exciting. And you know what? I like being busy all the time. I always fantasize about days of doing absolutely nothing. And then when there is a day like that, I freak out. I'm like, what am I going to do? It's just, I think busy is the place to be.
It is. It is for sure. I also fantasize about days with nothing to do, but so far I haven't had any of those in a really long time.
When would you say that was the last time?
I would say probably when I was in high school and used to have summer vacations.
High school?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get you a day off.
Yeah, I guess, you know what? I guess I have been on some vacations. So yes, I have. Since then, I have been on a few vacations where I wasn't on tour and wasn't doing something productive, but they're so rare that I treasure them.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's the way to be. It keeps it special. It keeps it special. And listen, everybody, we've got a very special interview. We have Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany, the pop star. You may remember her career kicking off in the 80s with the shopping mall tour. She has continued to write and release music over the years. She's got a new album, Shadows, that just came out. And when this came across my desk, I was like, I have to talk to Tiffany. I mean, Em, how many artists do you talk to on a daily basis who have had a number one single in their lifetime?
0.
Same here. So when I saw this, I was like, wait a second, Tiffany? I can talk to Tiffany. I remember the shopping mall tour and the music video back in the day. I remember tours with New Kids on the Block and that whole era, Debbie Gibson, all that stuff. That was when I started to kind of become aware of pop culture and music and have little crushes. So I jumped at the chance to talk to Tiffany, and we cover everything, her family, the legal battles, the shopping mall tour, everything she's up to now. It's great. You remember Tiffany, right?
Yes, of course. Of course. I remember the rivalry. Well, at least the perceived rivalry between her and Debbie Gibson. I don't know if that was a real thing or not.
I think it was real.
Yeah.
But they eventually mended fences and did a documentary or some type of film together. So that's good.
Yeah, they did what was it? They did like a sci-fi original movie together. It was giant gator. It was like gators versus pythons or something like that.
Yeah, I forget the exact title, but you're very close on that. Well, that interview is coming up momentarily, so strap in. But first, here's how you can support us. The New Scene. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at New Scene Pod. We've got shirts available at Death Wish Inc., a long sleeve option, and t-shirts. Head over to Death Wish Inc. and search The New Scene. You'll see the shirts and reviews. Give me Apple Podcast and Spotify reviews. 5 stars, please. I can't handle any less than that. And if you write a nice review on Apple Podcasts, I'll read it on the air. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings. Her Head's on Fire has a new video out for Rising Tide, and that just premiered at The Alternative. Go check that out. And if you haven't heard the band, check them out. I always forget the name of the song. I think it's the last song on their full length. I love that song. They always open with it when I see them live. Good band, good people, good music. Check it out. For more from Iodine Recordings, head over to their Instagram at Iodine Recordings or the website at iodinerecords.com. So, Em, let's talk about music that we are listening to right now. It can be old, it can be new. I'm interested in hearing about what you're listening to. Lay it on us.
Well, since I have been in the studio, I haven't technically been listening to a lot aside from my own music and tearing it apart and scrutinizing it in every way. Although let's see, before I left for the studio, I can say one record that I was listening to front to back was the Dawn of the Dead soundtrack. Have you listened to that?
Really?
Yeah.
Are we talking original Dawn of the Dead or the new one?
The original with
love that.
with Goblin playing some of the main tracks. And I do an occasional, once a month, I do a vinyl DJ stream for my Patreon. And since it was October, I was doing, whatever kind of creepy stuff I had laying around. And I listened to the whole soundtrack, and I have seen the movie before, but it's been a little while. But listening to the soundtrack was like really fascinating, and so many different styles going on all in one record. I really recommend checking it out. It's pretty great and bizarre at the same time.
I didn't even know Dawn of the Dead had a soundtrack, so I definitely have to check that out. And the movie is so good. I think there's a lot of misconception about that movie. Yes, it is very violent and there's crazy stuff in it, but the depth and the character development and the story is really something. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a really great classic horror movie that should be watched, I think.
Absolutely. So what else? Anything else in your playlist lately?
Not so much. I can say that one of the songs on my album, like I have just been so focused on writing and recording. Well, actually the writing was done, but I have been so focused on recording and finishing an entire album that even when I was driving to and from the studio, I just drove in silence because it was like 12 hours of my own music all day, every day. So, but I can say that one of the songs on the record was really inspired by James Bond themes as well. Like I've just kind of gotten some cinematic stuff going on in my own music listening as of late, aside from my own release.
I like the sound of that. So it sounds like when you're in the process of writing and recording, you are really focused. There's no outside distractions.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if that was, I guess it wasn't necessarily on purpose, but I just did not feel really like listening to other music, and also didn't feel like it would help me in any way. It was just kind of like, I just wanted to sort of stay in. I don't know if that's such a good idea now that I'm talking about it. Like staying in my own musical world instead of seeing, or listening to whatever else is out there. And I don't know why. I do kind of think that part of it was from just being basically in music for hours and hours all day, every day. That's just not common for me. Like, yes, I'm a musician and I play music and, am involved with it a lot on my regular days, but not from like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. Like, I'm not ensconced in music night and day just because I do a weekly music podcast. There's a lot of other things I'm involved with. So it's like, okay, while I'm doing the podcast or preparing for the podcast, I'm neck deep in music. But then once I turn it off, I'm like, I'm done. I gotta look at something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard to be doing it all day.
Yeah. I don't listen to music all day and night like I used to. There's so many other forms of entertainment now these days.
Yeah. Are you going to tell me what you've been listening to though?
Yes, I am. Okay. Same as last. I'm glad you reminded me because I forgot. All right. Same as last week. Hammock, my favorite band of all time, has 2 new singles out, and one of them is called Untruth. It's from their upcoming album, Love in the Void. And I, this song, I'm a wreck when I listen to it. I have so much invested in this band that just listening to the song, I get like all emotional and teary. And
Oh,
that's such, yeah, it's like such a good feeling though. And the
yeah, that's so
song,
great.
yeah, the song is so good. So once again, I'm recommending Hammock, Untruth. I've also been going through my Spotify and looking at all the things I've listened to this year because I'm putting together my top 10 records of the year. I'm not going to spoil it because there's going to be a special episode about it, but yeah, Hammock, Untruth. Check it out, everybody.
I'm going to. I wrote it down.
Awesome. You're going to love it. Well, listen, check back in with me and Emily in segment 3. I'm going to catch up with her. I'm going to ask her about her upcoming records. And she also just put out a record of some AFI and Misfits covers. We're going to cover all that. We're going to talk about Twitch, my favorite subject. We're going to talk about everything. But right now, we are going to speak to Tiffany. Enjoy. All right. We are here now with Tiffany. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it is wonderful to have you here. You know, you have accomplished in your lifetime what few musicians have. You've had a number 1 hit. You've continued to make albums throughout the years. You've done acting. You've done TV spots. You have a cooking show. You've done it all. And we're going to cover all that, Tiffany. But first, let me ask you, how are you doing today?
I am well. I am sitting here having coffee, and it just rained here in Nashville last night. So all my plants are watered,
Oh, that's good.
which is great. I live kind of outside of Nashville, on like, probably like a farm. We don't have too many animals, but yes, it's beautiful. But it's great when nature helps out and rains. Now they tell me this weekend, though, the bad side is it's going to be really cold.
Oh, no.
So here we are. I love fall, but winter, not so much. But this LA girl will go through it. But I'm doing great. I'm excited. It's a great day. And I'm, just living life right now, getting ready for all the new stuff with the album.
Yes, that's exciting. How long have you been in Nashville now?
Gosh, this time around, this is my second time. I've actually been in Nashville more here than in LA, which is shocking for me. But I moved here in the early 90s and I was here for about 6, 7 years. And then I moved back this time and I think I've been here almost 17 years.
Excellent. And it's got to be nice to experience the change of seasons, right? That's what I love most. Fall, winter's okay. I actually prefer winter to 90 and 100-degree heat, but it's nice to experience the change of seasons.
It really is. I mean, coming from LA, I lived in the mountains, so I got a little bit of that. But most of the time, it's pretty sunshine. It's pretty normal, just the neutral kind of everyday sunshine, which sounds divine for a lot of people. But I don't know. I'm probably spoiled. I just got used to it. I love the feeling and emotion that comes with the seasons. I love the elation of the summer and even the sadness of the winter. But I write a lot of times, and I'm most creative during like the fall and the winter. So this is a big patch for me as an artist, as a foodie, as all the things I've got, plate spinning I'm also creating under what I've already created.
So you have a new album coming out, Shadows. It's coming out November 25th via Deco Entertainment. And this is your first album since 2018's Pieces of Me. So you must be really excited to have this music get out there into the world.
Well, I am, because we've held this album back for a while, with COVID and different challenges. It was just like, it wasn't the right time. And I had promoted it last year, excuse me, a little bit. And it didn't, it wasn't the right time for like being out on the road. So, we held it back. But I have to say now is the perfect time. I definitely know that this was the right time. I get exercise and patience. But it really is the perfect time now. We can tour, we can go all over and make all my dreams of traveling. Although I don't like traveling on a plane, I do love to see the fans, and I want them to have this music.
Yes, it's exciting. I have heard the album and I love it. There's a lot going on. We've got ballads, we've got straight rock and roll tunes that almost sound like ZZ Top or something like that, which is awesome. We've got more indie rock sounding stuff. I think there's a little bit of something for everybody.
There really is on this. I mean, it's a little punk pop, a little bit of retro in modern production. It's a great album, and the ballads are really some of some that have just stretched me as a vocalist, which I love, and the lyrics that we wrote and that I wrote, like, are amazing. So it's everything I've ever wanted, really, coming all together. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's a great sauce. That's what I call it. And I think it's going to give a great platform for the next wave of Tiffany and what's to come. And I'm doing so many different experiences with the food and music, the Tiff takeovers, which I'm very excited now will turn into the acoustic part of Shadows, where you'll hear that music acoustically. Won't be the whole album, but it'll be selected songs. And while you're having a dinner experience with me, where they're serving my food, and we're doing rocktails, and I'm just around foodies and people who love music, because they really do go hand in hand. And more I find that's through the pandemic, it definitely is what kept me alive. And I, of course, will have full band show with more production on this one. I'm excited. I call it zhuzhing. We've zhuzhed it up a bit. And, I can't wait to take it out on the road.
I like the sound of that. I went on a big rant on my show recently because I'm just too old to go to shows anymore. And most of the shows I go to are clubs where you have to stand for 3 to 4 hours, depending on how many bands are playing. And I can't do it anymore. I can't stand up in boots for 3 hours around a bunch of wild drunk people. Sometimes there's crazy stuff going on. The idea of sitting there and being served a meal and hearing you play acoustically is very appealing.
Well, thank you. That it's a little bit of everything for everyone, because yes, I mean, I have a lot of people that during the pandemic, obviously we wanted to social distance. So we learned how to do these social distance evenings that come with food and, are very kind of a private setting. And they only really work for like 100, tops 200 people. But, I love the intimate stuff because it's a one of a kind show. And, not that the bigger productions aren't, but there's just something really, I don't know, special, if you will, about the intimate evenings, and definitely now the dining experience. But we're going to be ready to rock in February. We go out with a full band, selective dates on this one. It's not going to be a full tour. Usually I tour throughout the whole year. People know me now as pretty hardcore touring artist, but this one is going to have selective dates. And this one too will be at certain theaters where it can handle the production and it looks right and it really just fits the room. I think I'm being a little more selective on this one, but in great areas like New York and LA and all through San Francisco, and then taking it over to the UK. So we've got many plans. Hopefully they can all happen in 1 year. I don't know. It looks like I'm going to be busy, but I love it. I think now you just make it a vacation as well. I mean, I love to travel. And if I can pair that with food experiences where I go and meet chefs and learn a thing or two about mom and pop recipes all over the world, then I would be a happy girl.
That sounds fantastic. So you were quoted as saying Shadows is about the light and dark of your life, the heartbreak that nobody knows about when you're trying to be fabulous on stage. Tell us about some of your personal experience that has gone into this latest album, Shadows.
Oh, I mean, I definitely think it's, Shadows is really about a lot of what I've seen, people that have told me their heartbreak stories, breakups, losing people along the way, to my own difficult relationships, working with someone and being in love with someone and, and being all around them all the time, and learning that balance. And coming from, 2 breakups before that, where both of us were coming from divorces. So there's been a lot of adjustments, if you will. And I think that music as a songwriter definitely kept me sane. it was really my therapy. I mean, that's kind of what I do is I write. Sometimes I don't even think about it, if you will. It just comes through me. I'll just wake up with a melody in my head or a title or an emotion, and it just gnaws at you all day long until you kind of give it attention, if you will.
Isn't that the best feeling? I get that too, where it's almost like a lightning strike in my mind, or a song will come to me, a lyric, a video idea, something like that, and then it's almost like a freebie from some other place.
Well, I had a very interesting conversation with my videographer, who director, who's doing the new video for Your Everything, the new single coming out from Shadows. So we were in here in Nashville, and we were, just filming. And then later on, we had this great conversation. All of us were sitting around the table, and we forget sometimes, in my opinion, how art, in its entirety, from paintings to art to nature to all of it, is, it is divine. It really is something special. And when we get these songs, how we're like little keepers, if you will, of these messages, or this, push to write something that's going to inspire somebody or connect with someone, or, is for us, that is a little bit of a, purging, if you will. It's really something magical. It's not to be taken lightly. We had a really deep conversation, but I walked away there so inspired and really, feeling, I know it sounds cheesy, but grateful that, this is what I do. And like, I'm a little messenger, a little storyteller. I get to tell my stories, and I get to perceive other people and hear and then, and then deliver. So it's pretty amazing.
I love that. Yeah. And you've been doing it a long time. I mean, you got started singing in front of people by the time you were 9 years old, right?
I did. I was singing country music in bars, actually, when I was 9, and, was in and out very quickly, did my through 3 or 4 jams, and then that was it. But, it was all about connection. My parents didn't know what they were doing. My stepfather was the person who helped me get started in my career. Basically, I sang all the time. And so he challenged me, and I didn't know. We went to the fair, quite a bit of people out there, over 100 people in the crowd. They had this great band up there, and I was just hanging with my friend. We were at the fair. That's all I knew. And all of a sudden they announced my name, Tiffany Renee. Well, she'd come up and sing a few songs with us. And my stepdad had paid the band $50 to say, look, my daughter wants to sing, but she sings around the house, and she's singing at parties and with certain, people in the house. Everybody says she's quite good, and she is quite good. But that's one thing. If she won't do it in front of strangers, then, and I keep asking her. So no time like the present. That's totally like my dad. You will sink or swim. And I got up there, not a problem. I was like, yeah, okay. And then they asked me the serious questions. What key? And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about keys. The keys of the record. I don't know. It's like the record. And they just played some random key. And that's what I learned, in country bands. At 9, I learned to work with the bands or not. I learned the woes of a vocalist. And being young, of course, I was just jumping into it. So I didn't really have a say. So I learned to follow a band, sometimes right off the cliff. I mean, it was like, I didn't know. But, I think that gave me really good instincts, actually, those early days that you don't know it. But later on, that will all apply.
Did you have the drive to perform that young? Or, I mean, obviously your stepdad was helping you out, getting you to these shows and working with the bands. Did you have the drive as well? Did you really want to perform in front of people that young?
Oh, I did. Definitely. I was a dancer before that. I was a pageant girl before that. It just was something, there was something in me. I was always singing from the earliest, like 2 years old. But I mean, no one in my family's a musician. My mom was divorced from my father at the time. And we lived at my grandparents' house, and I was always singing and listening to, jingles on TV and learning things, and listening to my older cousin listen to songs. Country music is what was played in the house, that and kind of, I guess, rockabilly, if you will, or even like a lot of like oldies, like, Marvin Gaye and Fats Domino was my grandma's favorite, so she played that a lot. So later on, I graduated to being able to be in the record room. They called it the den back then. And that had all the records, and I could listen to the records by 7, 8. They trusted me. And that's what I did after I came home from school. I would do my chores, and that was right before my mom married my stepfather, who would eventually help me with my career.
Yeah, you wanted to sing country, but then you hooked up with the manager, right? And they suggested I Think We're Alone Now and some of the other songs that became very big, right?
Yeah, definitely. By the time I met George Tobin, I was doing demos, and, I had come to Nashville already. I was back in LA. We had tried various things, really. And it was just finding material that was right for me. Country wasn't it, because it, talked about divorce and like loving your man, things like that. It was like, no, not really comfortable with this. So, we went back to LA, and I still was pursuing like country. That was kind of like Americana, if you will, what we would call that now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was country pop, and a little bit of, it had a little bit of folk in it, a little bit, it was really cool. And then George came down, and I was actually in his studio, and that was the beginning. He started throwing songs like, I Think We're Alone Now. I Saw Him Standing There. Could Have Been came along. And then we started doing an album. So it happened very quickly once it started to happen. But it took, some time. I was signed by 14. The album came out at 15, and I was touring the world by 16. So, and it really hasn't stopped. I mean, I've been really lucky to be able to take some time when I was raising my son. I've been lucky to do some crazy acting things, and now food stuff. And I just, I love my fans because they just kind of ride the waves with me. I'm like, hey, I'm into this. You want to be into this? Let's do this.
That's awesome. I mean, it must have been, how did you handle the pressure? You're 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. You've got a #1 hit. You're performing with some really big artists. I mean, where are you at that time with this whole thing?
I think I was just riding the wave. I didn't have any other plan. It was just my life. So I just rolled with it, and it was exciting, and it was fun, and it was everything I wanted to do. It got a little hard when you'd come back to school and you don't really fit in, because no matter what, high school is high school. You could be famous or not, but your true friends are going to be like, yeah, you weren't here, and it was my birthday. Like,
Yeah.
that was pretty shit.
And everyone else, like, even being famous, people, I could see kids being so petty, they'd like give you a hard time about it and give you
They
like,
did.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like my one girlfriend, she got pregnant and she had to leave school. So, that was really hard, because by that time I went to a small private school, because I was on and off the road so much. So high school wasn't working. So I had a teacher on the road, and then I was working with my small private school, and my best friend had to leave, and that was it. I was stuck with people who never wanted to be my friend, who were like all pro Tiffany. And I was like, yeah, not so much. And then I had, other people who were my friends. But again, if you can't keep up, they're like, they don't call you as much. And then you're home and you're like, I'm home for a couple of days. And you're also like, it's different. You're saying things that are applied to the road, and they're like, what are you talking about? So your road family quickly becomes something very special, I think.
So the mall tour in '87, a lot of people know about this because this is how you got into the national and international spotlight. Did those shows start out really big, like in the video? Was there a lot of people there right away?
No, there was like 3 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took a while to connect the dots. I mean, it's nothing that had been done before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even to the some of the retailers there at the mall, when I would arrive, they weren't even informed there was going to be somebody dancing and singing in front of their store. And sometimes they were quite pissed off because it was a jewelry store. So that's not their clientele. They don't need obstacles in front of their way.
Right.
And so we had complaints. We had all of that fun stuff, but it didn't stop it. It just kept rolling on. I had a great, team, and the management just kept going, and the label just made it happen. And then it started to take off, I think, with different radio stations picking up on it. saying free concert. And by then, the single had started to spin a little bit, and it made sense, and it was free, and it was at the mall, everybody's favorite happy place at that time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the mall used to be everything. Like even me growing up, 12, 13, that's where I'd be. That's where I'd want to be.
That's where I hung out. I mean, it made sense, it like even before the mall tour, that's where I hung out. Like, I mean, I just come from a middle-class family. So for me on the weekend, on a Saturday, it was safe. My mom knew where we were. She'd drop us off, a couple girlfriends. I'd have $5. They'd have $5. And that would last you like the whole day, really. Sometimes, because you would share stuff and share French fries and remember the record store? I used to be in there for hours just looking at stuff.
Same here. Yeah. Growing up is hard enough as a teenager, as a kid, but on top of that, you have worldwide fame now and custody battles and earnings battles. And I'm sure you've got managers in one ear and parents in the other. Like, how do you deal with all that at such a young age? What do you do?
You hire a very good attorney.
That's the secret.
No, but that is the secret. I didn't know that, but apparently that is the secret. No, I don't know. You just really kind of, again, roll with it. All of my battles, that have been public, you can't really prepare for it.
No.
And, now that I'm a little wiser about being a celebrity, if you will, but I'm also somebody who pretty much lives out loud, because no matter what, I think, it's going to be, they tell about something and make up all this stuff, or you tell your story. And I've always been like that. I've always been like, what do you want to know? I'll tell you, and it might come with tears. It might come with, a little bit of, I'm pissed off about it. I don't know, and sometimes I think like right now we're working on a book for me, and just reminiscing is bringing, again, there's that creative coming out right now. It's a good time for me to start talking about these stories. And I look at some of this stuff so differently than when I went through it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I haven't really dissected my life. I'm always somebody who goes forward, not really back. Although I'm like, I don't really like change, but yet I'm an entertainer, which is so funny. It's like, that just cancels itself out every day. Because, entertainment is, what my life and what my commitment has been, is you kind of don't have a say about your life. I mean, you do, but when you're on tour, you're touring. And when you're doing something else, you're doing this. And now with all the social media and all the different things, it's a job. And, I can't especially just take off and do things or shut down when you want to, or, any of that. You have to kind of work through it. And that's kind of what I've learned. I think back then, emotionally, or having to deal with all the fame, or, and all the rise and fall, or even my public life, I just did the same. I just went through it. And then later on, I think I processed stuff. I'm like a 4 a.m. person, where I have like the cries or the whatever. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm like, okay, let's go, but yeah, I've always been that person. I try to look at the positive in everything. But I am a Libra. So we love balance, and we people please, all these things. And I think you'll hear that through my music. It's weird because my character does come out of my music, I'm compromising myself, seeing things that or not addressing things you just blatantly see, all of these things I'm probably guilty of a little bit. And I write songs about that, because you want to be the best in people, and you don't like change, and you don't want to address, and there's never a good time, all these things that really apply in life. And I think that's, was really even in my childhood, when it came to leaving managers, or, moving on, or even the emancipation and being in a bad situation at home. These are things that went on for a while until you finally address them.
Yeah, I think you have a great outlook, and I think it's stuff that everybody goes through. You had the unfortunate part of some of it being on display for the entire world to see, but a lot of people go through that stuff, difficulties with parents and figuring out who you are. I know I've gone through a lot of that, and I'm at a point now where I can just be grateful for what I have and not focus on the past so much and keep it moving forward.
Definitely. I mean, that's the one thing through music too. Again, and just, even writing like this album or Pieces of Me, when people come up and they're like, you think they're going to say, I think we're alone now or something. They go, Pieces of Me really spoke to me, or Starting Over. I can so relate. And it just, again, it validates you, all those experiences that you went through. Again, they're, you go through them for a reason. People do understand you're not the only person. And I do find that a lot in my music, connecting those words with other people of like experiences.
Did you ever, I know there was some battles when you were very young about earnings and with parents and custody and all this stuff. Did you ever find peace with your mom?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, good.
I mean, that was the thing about my family. We were very loving and kind, but when addiction is a wild ride.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have that dichotomy, if you will, of personality that is dealing with a lot of stuff. So that person is in and out, if you will. But my mom was always loving. We always loved each other. But, there was a lot of, would say probably manipulation because of the alcoholism. And it took her many years, but she got sober. And we had a great relationship. We fixed a lot of stuff. And, my mom was, again, one of those people that she didn't like to deal with stuff. And finally, she started to have to deal with things and, again, validate other people and their experiences and say, yes, okay, that wasn't my best moment, and, say sorry a couple of times doesn't hurt because we all make mistakes. And, but, I think that was a very healing thing for all of us. And I'm proud to say my family is, they've all passed on now, but everybody went out on a great note. And, and that's the best you can hope for. And I think, again, there's so much now that applies to my life when I meet fans or people that are even currently going through it, might be in a bad situation. I said, well, you never know, it might take time, but later on, always keep the door open to resolve that, and especially if somebody is dealing with addiction and then they're going through sobriety, definitely support. And then definitely see that growth. With my mom, it was a slow train, but she definitely got there, and I'm very proud of her.
I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, I can relate. That's my story. Addiction, alcoholism, most of my life. And then I came out of that and really started doing all the things I wanted to do. But it's very good to hear that, you could have those conversations with your mother and that she could be part of your life because, you have a son as well. So it'd be good to be together,
Oh, definitely. I mean, she called him Evie, and that was her buddy. And, it was great because my mom became just my mom when I became a mom.
Yeah.
And she could apply all of that knowledge. There wasn't much she could give me about the music industry. That's not her jam. So for me, as just a mom, I was like, okay, here we go. I need you. And she was wonderful, and I think that she felt really comfortable on that level. And, again, by that time, there was no alcoholism in my family and things were better. And I'm very close to my two sisters that I moved to Nashville. So again, our parents have moved on, but, passed on, but we're all together. And that's a big highlight for me to have all my sisters here and everybody be functional and, be happy. It's a good thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And there's more beautiful things happening. You've got tour dates coming up. Again, you've got the new album Shadows coming out November 25th. So we want to check that out. Where can we check out Let's Food with Tiffany?
Let's Food with Tiffany. You can always go to tiffanytunes.com. That's all things Tiff World, from cooking to my online boutiques, to my beauty blog, to the behind the scenes stuff on Shadows, which we're creating now. So on and on and on, tiffanytunes.com. Let's Food with Tiffany is on Instagram. So follow me there, Let's Food with Tiffany. And there's also Facebook, Let's Food with Tiffany. So join the cooking club if you're interested for more stuff, because definitely we're traveling now. I'm working with again, my zhuzhi chefs to my mom and pop places, to everything in between, cooking for the band, cooking at home. But you do get my recipes. You get to Zoom with me. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. The cooking club, we have a blast. It's growing in community and I love it.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out, and I'm looking forward to more from you, Tiffany. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today. You know, you've done so much. You're still doing so much. You've helped a lot of people, and I'm looking forward to more.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And there you have it. Tiffany, that was an awesome conversation. You know, she only had 30 minutes because she had so much press scheduled for that day, but we covered a lot of ground in that time. The shopping mall tour that introduced her to the world, you know, the difficulty she had in her family and dealing with her mom's alcoholism. And I was really glad to hear that they mended fences because, you know, she has a kid now. And I just imagine, I was hoping that everything was okay and they could come back together and the grandmother would be able to see the grandchild, and they did. So that's good. And she's continued making music throughout the years. You know, this new album has everything. It's got straight ahead rock songs. It's got more indie rock sounding stuff. It's got the ballads. It's got it all. And once again, how often do you get to talk to somebody who had a number one single? That's a world I don't know anything about. And it was really fascinating to me to get to talk to her about that whole thing. So awesome conversation. Thank you again, Tiffany. So, Em,
Yes.
let's talk about ourselves. We love doing that. How are you doing? Now, you recently put out a record, RHV 1.5. Now, this has 2 AFI covers and 2 Misfits covers, yes?
Yes.
Tell us about this.
So it's not quite out yet. It's available for pre-sale, but it's a 7-inch record that, yes, the side A has 2 covers. They're like, I took 2 AFI songs and made them into like dance party covers. And then I took 2 Misfits songs for the other side and turned them into piano, like acoustic piano songs.
Nice.
And yeah, these were all songs inspired by and chosen by my patrons, which I think is really fun. And yeah, it's going to be on randomly colored vinyl, which is exciting to me because I have no idea what color it's going to end up being. And that's kind of an adventure and a surprise. And I think that's the rundown on that 7-inch.
How does the vinyl color randomly get selected? Like, who ultimately selects it? It sounds exciting because you don't know what you're going to get exactly.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that it is it's a little less exciting than it sounds, maybe because I'm pretty sure they take whatever is lying around, whatever vinyl is the extra scraps of the colored vinyl. So, I mean, it's not going to be black. That's the only thing I know, is that they're going to take their whatever they've got going on with their leftovers and mix that all in to this pressing. And yeah, I've done it twice before because that's how I've done the first 2 Survival Guide 7-inches. And it's just been a long time. So I'm excited all over again to get some randomly colored vinyl. But the first times it was like the colors ranged. So you could kind of see how they started out with maybe a red and then they probably put in some white because there's some that are kind of more pink. Some of them are more translucent and some of them are more solid. And then it ranges into like a tan and a brown and into a green and various shades of all of those colors. And
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I felt like they really did a pretty decent job of choosing colors that were similar to the artwork, like the cover artwork. So I'm kind of hoping that happens again.
So it's like you're getting something truly unique.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows what it'll be.
Not even you.
No.
But I like that you do different things with the cover songs. You know, it's like it ends up being its own thing. I think that's the way to go when you're covering another band.
Yeah, I prefer to do it that way. I've done a lot of covers now with the Patreon rewards that I had set up, and it's fun to sit down and listen to a song and think about what would be a decent like reimagining of the style of it. So I'm glad that you agree with that.
I'm doing the same thing in my band. I'm going to give the people an exclusive. I'm going to tell you a little bit, but not everything. I think we're going to cover Phil Collins.
Ooh, which one?
But I'm not going to say I'm not going to say what song, but we started to sit down and kind of figure it out, and we're going to make it sound like us, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I mean, it's Phil Collins. You can't go wrong with Phil Collins.
Yeah. I used to really not like Phil Collins, but at some point along the way, I acquired one of his records on vinyl, and then I had to admit it's really good.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Super catchy. Let's talk about your new album. How long have you been working on this? Let's say like starting to write it.
Oh, wow. Well, it has been a number of years since I started writing it. I really have, or I guess had this in the past tense, I had really been struggling with being a completely solo artist and writing songs alone. So it took a really long time for me to get past that enough to really force myself to continue to write, because it has been a goal for a long time for me to write an album and record it. So yeah, it's been, I would say, the first song I wrote for the record in, I think it was early 2020. The first song. Yeah. Maybe 2019 even.
Yeah, I remember you said that your writing partner and the other fellow from the band, I think you moved to Texas, right? So you had to learn to do all this on your own, and I'm sure there was a ramp up period with that.
Yes, exactly. I had to teach myself how to record myself, and the cover songs that I did on Patreon really helped me along the way, learning how to do all that stuff and just what was fun for me, you know? So yeah, I wish I could remember for sure what year I started writing this album, but yes, it's been multiple years now.
I like the process. I like learning these things. We were talking about this a little bit before I hit record, but it can be stressful figuring all this stuff out, audio, microphones, inputs, outputs, all this stuff. But ultimately, I like it. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have thousands of dollars of equipment sitting in front of me and spend a lot of my free time trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah. Well, and also it feels really good once you have it figured out. And then you're like, oh, it's not really... It seemed like much more of a big deal than it actually is.
Yeah, it really just comes down to patience and being able to Google stuff. You just keep Googling different stuff and trying it until you find the thing that works. That's what technical support is.
Yes, exactly.
I want to be able to record music and put together demos in my house. I'm getting closer to being able to do it. I made a mashup just by pulling stuff from YouTube and putting it together, and it's been getting some attention on YouTube, so that's fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but I want to record music and demo it and be able to send it to my band and be like, hey, check this out, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm sure with the gear that you have that it can be done.
Yeah, I should probably just like pick up a guitar and try it.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
Hopefully everybody listening can hear I have a brand new setup here. I've got a legit Shure podcasting microphone with an XLR input and the Go XLR Mini. I'm like big time now. It's crazy what's going on over here.
What, for your demos, would you be putting drums on them?
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky part.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I use like a MIDI pad, like a drum pad, basically, and then I can assign different sounds to the different pads and just play it with my fingers like I'm tapping out a drum beat. It's pretty fun.
Oh, that's what I need, because I'm such a good finger drummer.
Yeah.
Like I can do it perfectly.
Oh, there you go. That'll be so easy for you then.
All right, so MIDI pad.
Mhm.
That's what I'm going to get for Christmas. Okay, here we go. It's all happening. It's a good thing we're talking.
Yeah.
So, how is Twitch streaming going? I drop into your Twitch sometimes just to see what's going on. I mostly lurk in every channel that I'm on.
Uh-huh.
But I am there sometimes. How's it going?
It's going great. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I've been on a break from it since I was away recording the album. And so yeah, it's been about a month since I streamed on Twitch. But before that, it was only getting better all the time. I really have fun performing on there. And I think now that my record is completed, at least the recording part is done, I want to branch out and do some more activities with Twitch besides just doing song requests. But of course, I also want to learn more songs and get better at the songs that I have on my list so that I'm just always improving.
Yeah, you do live learns, which seems like the scariest thing to me. You know, I'd want to like be offline and perfect it before I go online and perform it for people. But you just get on there and you learn it, and you learn it well.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely was nervous about that at first, but I think after I had a really great little community built, I felt comfortable doing it. And I also figured, well, I might as well try it. And if I hate it, I can just delete the VOD and never do it again. You know, it's like it never happened.
That's the important thing to remember about Twitch is it's different from other platforms. People just want to hang out. Like they're there because they want to hang out with you. And the streamers that I like, they could just be sitting there talking, doing a crossword puzzle, playing a video game. Doesn't matter. It's like the fun is being there with them and interacting with people in the chat and all that.
Yeah, it seems like people enjoy it, even the live learns. Definitely the request streams are more active, I would say, but people are also interested to see what the process is like. And I think sometimes they're surprised by it. You know, people who are not musical and maybe never have been are just like, oh wow, you're learning a song right in front of me, you know?
It is interesting to watch the process, you know, because I write music and I've released music, but I can still watch you and be like, oh, yeah, that's how you do it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. Just sit down and figure it out.
My last stream was also like a month ago, and I really went for it. I promoted it on all of my channels, and I streamed for like 6 hours that day.
Oh, wow. That's
because Modern Warfare 2 came out, and I wanted to stream the campaign. And something like 4 or 5 people actually came throughout the day. So I was like, this is awesome. This is the most people I've ever had here.
Nice.
It was really fun. But, you know, I invested all this money in microphones. I have a 2 PC setup and they're connected, and I've got expensive mice and gaming keyboards and all this stuff. And I was going to really commit to having a weekly stream schedule and stick to it. But you know what I've realized, Em, is I don't love streaming.
Oh, that's unfortunate after all that.
No, I like doing it, but it has to be on my terms. Like, sometimes I just record myself playing a game and I'll just make content that's not live streaming. I like doing that sometimes. And I want to stream when I want to do it, because I turned it into this whole mental thing where I'm like, well, you can't play a video game unless you're on Twitch, because you have to be on Twitch to build up that platform. And I'd be like, but I don't feel like streaming. All right, well, I'm not going to play any games. And I found myself not playing games anymore because I didn't want to stream. And I was like, wow, I'm ruining this thing that I enjoy doing. So now I've stopped obsessing about it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it when I feel like doing it. And that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is kind of weird to have a set schedule for something that you enjoy doing in a leisurely, relaxing kind of way, you know?
Exactly. I have to keep it a hobby. And I finally made a separate gaming page for all the gaming content, and I posted a couple reels that went viral, and everybody was making fun of me. They're like, you're bad, you suck, you didn't aim right, you didn't. But the point of the videos are that I'm bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that was the joke and everybody missed the point. And I got so mad. I was about to start replying in the comments and be like, you suck. You're an idiot. You don't get the joke. But I was like, I can't get sucked into this. So I turned off notifications and just let it go.
Yeah, that's smart. I think
Yeah.
that's the way to be, for sure.
I can't be arguing with random people on the internet. That's not going to lead anywhere good.
Yeah, that's a waste of energy for sure.
So what else is going on with you? How's life down in Texas? Are you happy? Is everything good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm still, I mean, I know I keep talking about how I just got back from the studio. But I literally got back like 3 days ago, and it was almost a month-long trip. And
Whoa.
yeah. And so I'm kind of still not in the swing of things as far as like my schedule. And also when I left, it was hot here and now it's cold. So and the time changed and everything. So I'm a little bit discombobulated, might be a good word for it.
I bet.
But everything's great. Like, I'm happy to be home. I'm happy that I finished my part of the album. It still is in mixing process right now. So I still definitely have to do some listening to it for approving mixes, but I feel really good about life and everything right now coming off of that record.
Where did you record it?
I recorded at Flying Blanket Studios in Phoenix.
Oh, so that's a pretty far trip.
Yeah.
You were there for a month?
Yeah. I haven't done anything like that in a long time. And it was also just the idea of it was kind of overwhelming to me because I'm the only person in the band, so it was like, well, it's not normally I've been like only doing part of the work. When it's been professional like this, it's like if I'm not just recording with a friend or somebody in my own city, if I'm traveling to record and the studio's locked out and everything, then it's always been like, okay, the drummer is going in for the first few days and I can come by and like see how it's going, but I don't have to be there from start to finish, but this time it was like, yeah, day one to the last day in the studio I was there all the time.
I would be freaking out, just me, because I've only recorded with bands, and you get there and you can ask people advice, and you have people to bounce stuff off of. So if it was just me, I'd be like, oh man, like how did it go for you? Was there a ramp up period to get comfortable? Did you do everything on the schedule that you had set?
It did take me a bit to get comfortable. I was working with Bob Hogue, who owns the studio, and he used to drum in the band Pollen, or he still does, I guess, but they used to be like a touring band. And so we started out with him adding a lot of drums, because all of my demos had, electronic drums on them, which weren't necessarily intended as final tracks. So we did a lot of drum stuff first, and it was, I don't know what's a good way to describe it. It was, let's say, taxing on me to sit and listen to drums for hours, just like all day long. And also being that my main thing has always been vocals, it's, looking at the schedules like, okay, wow. So we aren't going to get vocals. We aren't going to even approach vocals until like the last 5 days of studio time. So it was just so much preparation to get to that's what's weird, is that it's all my parts, it's like the whole thing is my record. It was really, really interesting, really exhausting, as I had expected it would be, but also just a super great experience, and really awesome to hear these songs that I wrote being made professional. So that's what was really exciting.
That's the best part. The last record I put out, being in the studio and hearing the demos back and hearing it be close to what I imagined in my head is the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. I was amazed by how the ideas, how rough these ideas that I brought to the studio were and how they're sounding now. I'm just like, wow, it's real.
Do you ever miss working with a band or working with other people, or are you pretty content working mostly by yourself?
There are pros and cons to both. I feel like there are definitely aspects that I miss about working with other musicians. Like you said earlier, having people to bounce ideas off of. This whole time I've just kind of been like, well, I guess this is a song. This is what I'm going to record. And I guess I hope it's good. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, just having camaraderie is always probably the best part, I think, of being in a band and working with other people. But it's also great to completely get to do what I want and work on what I want and have songs be how I want. And, play shows or not play shows, depending on how I feel. And I don't have to clear anything with anyone else's schedule. There's a lot of freedom in it, but it's also can be lonely.
Yeah, I feel you. This podcast I do myself now mostly, unless there's a guest host like yourself doing it with me. But I like that because I don't have to worry about two schedules anymore, like you're saying, or coordinate two people or have uncomfortable conversations and all the stuff that comes up when you're working with other people. And it's got to be great to be able to create by yourself. I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of other mostly solo artists that I've spoken to, Zola Jesus, Cold Cave. Like you can sit down and write the music yourself and then just go out and play it. That's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty great. And also there's the ability to collaborate with a producer, which is what I did with Bob. Like, all the songs were written when I got there, but I did have him to say like, oh yeah, this is good. Or like, maybe we change this here and this here, just like some, and luckily we worked well together. So I wasn't offended by his suggestions and, it all worked out.
That's good. Yeah. It's good it's important to have someone maybe that or you're at least on the same page with, because if someone doesn't understand what you're doing at all, the suggestions they're making are just going to be, I don't know, out of left field.
Yeah. Luckily that wasn't the case. I did worry about that because I've never worked with him before and didn't know what it was going to be like. Between the 7-inch that's out for pre-order and the full-length record that will be out whenever, I don't know. There's no really official release date on either of these, but I'm really excited to have two things in the works because, it's really fun to have a new release, let alone two new releases lined up.
Yes. So to everybody listening, make sure you pre-order RHV 1.5. There's not a release date yet, but you want it. It's going to be a unique color of vinyl. We don't know what color yet, but you want it. We also have a full-length record to look forward to. And you can also see Em on Twitch. Survival Guide is her handle. She does live learns. She does cover requests. She does all kinds of stuff. Drop in and check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's actually Survival Guide Music is my handle on Twitch.
Survival Guide Music.
Yes.
I'm thinking of like the Twitch window on the left where it kind of cuts off. So yeah. I can see it in my mind, but I can't read it all. There you go. Survival Guide Music. Check it out. And Em, I just want to say thank you so much for guest hosting with me this week. It was really fun to catch up. It sounds like a lot of awesome things are happening. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And listen, we're out of time, but I am back next week. I'm here every week. New guests, new guest co-hosts. You never know what's going to happen here at the New Scene. It's always exciting. So that's it for this week. Thanks everybody for listening. And until next time.